patients can expect significant disruption because junior doctors began that strike in England, the longest walkout in history. The 5-day strike runs until Tuesday. Thousands of planned appointments will be postponed while more senior doctors fill in to provide emergency care before then going on strike themselves next week on Thursday and Friday. It's a bit of a strike fest over there at the NHS, it seems. Meanwhile, millions of public sector workers, including junior doctors, are to be offered a pay rise. But hey, is it solved? I'm not sure. 5 to 7% is what the government say is on the table. Let's speak to two voices on this point. Dr. Laurence Gerlis, GP at Same Day Doctor, and Taaha Nadeem, junior doctor as a trainee GP. Good afternoon to you both. Taaha, I'm assuming, I can't see a placard, but I'm going to take a punt that you're on strike today.
That's right. Yes, I am on strike, and I've taken some time just to do this interview to shed some more light on why, really.
Well, listen, I'm glad you are with us to explain a little more on that, but I'm bound to say to you at the outset, I mean, you can go back to work now because you've got a pay rise.
Yeah, good point. I think I'll leave that to the higher powers to decide, you know, in terms of what's deemed as feasible. But as you've mentioned prior to myself coming on, what's being asked for and what's being offered by the government differs hugely at the moment. So I can't see it being enough for the strikes to be called off, really. 35%
was always a big ask, though, wasn't it? I mean, you guys secretly know that, right?
It all depends how you look at it, doesn't it? It can be marketed in different ways. If you're going to market it as 35% in terms of increase in salary, then yeah, it looks like we're asking for a huge amount. But if you talk about it in terms of pay restoration and look at the kind of job I'm doing now, and if I was doing the same job in 2008 and the salary, it doesn't take, you know, a genius to work out that pay should have increased in that time, and it hasn't.
Let's bring in Dr. Laurence Gerlis on this. Laurence, there's Taaha, he's a trainee GP. You did that training many years ago. I'm not trying to age you or anything in that respect, but that's a fact. So you've been there, seen it, done it. Just give us your response, if you would, to the overarching headline today. We have junior doctors saying, look, it should be 35%. They factored in all sorts of components to arrive at that figure. The government saying, well, actually, no, it's going to be like 6.5%, 7%.
Yeah, it's not enough. I support Dr. Nadeem in that respect. You know, an FY1 doctor earning £14 an hour, going up to £19 an hour, it's still a terrible wage. And it's not just pay for junior doctors, so I support them. Where I will disagree on this is I just don't think striking is a good look for doctors. I think we're better than that. I think we could have devised a work-to-rule strategy. I'll throw out one of many examples. You know, stop doing discharge summaries in hospitals. Someone else can do them. Artificial intelligence can do them if you put your mind to it. And the other point about strikes is, you know, we have to acknowledge that patients will be harmed by this. I know the doctor's argument is, well, we're doing it for the good of the health service in the future, and I accept and understand that. But right now, 5-day strikes, that makes 15 days of junior doctor strikes. They've lost half a month's pay, and I just don't think that it's effective. I don't think it's the right tactic. I don't think the government care enough, and I don't think it's going to work. So I think they need to change strategy. Having said that, I support everything that junior doctors are asking for. So I'm not going to be in an adversarial situation with Dr. Nadeem because I agree with what he's looking for.
And there it is, Taaha, isn't it? There is, I think lots of people have a kind of an understanding of the pressures that your industry is under, but simultaneously, as Laurence there says, perhaps this is the wrong way of doing it. It's a lot of strike action, the biggest in your history. You're in danger of losing the dressing room a little bit here, to coin the phrase.
I get that point completely. I just really do struggle to see an alternative way around it. I understand the point of artificial intelligence or palming off tasks, if you like, to other members of staff in the healthcare team, but I just feel like you're just putting a plaster on the situation. It's not going to solve anything. It's not going to stop doctors, you know, leaving in their droves from this country. It's not going to stop doctors looking into alternative careers within tech or even within private work. It's a stopgap. I think the reason that strikes are happening is because fundamentally the majority of doctors don't see another way. And as Dr. Gerlis said, it isn't easy to strike. As you've mentioned, 15 days is about half a month's pay. and that isn't something that a doctor can stomach easily. And to be honest with you, strike fatigue does start to set in. I feel like maybe the government's plan here is to allow that strike fatigue to set in until doctors give up and either leave or just go back to work as normal.
So where does it go, though, now? Because Rishi Sunak made it very clear in that statement this was the final offer. It's an independent figure that's been arrived at by an external government department, an organisation, and there's no more on the table. That is it. So striking will now do nothing at all.
Well, look, I'm no politician and he is, so I'm not 100% on the terms he's used and whether I can say that they're gospel. I do know that, yes, they're meant to be using an independent organisation to look into what constitutes a reasonable offer, and they've started to go against that now. It does at times feel as if heads are being clashed and nothing's being achieved, but I think the fact that consultants are now joining this really does put some emphasis on the issue to really aim for a resolution now.
And Laurence, where do you imagine this one going? Because, again, just to reiterate that point, the Prime Minister was absolutely unequivocal. This is a final offer. There will be no more money. So any kind of strike action is going to be futile now.
I think there's room for movement because of what's happened in Scotland, where the doctors had a 17% rise because some of it was deferred to next year. And I think that gives a get-out clause for the government and the doctors to maybe agree to the 7% this year with a big increase for next year, which defers things till after the election, so it becomes someone else's problem. But, I just say I think the tactics are wrong. This is an unpopular government anyway. They're not worried about being more unpopular. And also, the strikes don't directly affect the economy. They indirectly affect it in the long term if patients can't get hip operations. But on a day-to-day basis, trust me, a tube strike for one day does more damage to the economy than a 5-day doctor strike. So the government can actually ride this out for a very long time. So waiting lists go up, well, they're very high anyway. And that's where I think that the junior doctors need to look at tactics, although, as I say, they deserve their 35% in my view.
There it is. We'll watch with interest. Dr. Laurence Gerlis, thank you, GP at Same Day Doctor, and Dr. Taaha Nadeem, junior doctor and a trainee GP, who today is on strike.